God, you can't get enough of us this week, can you? Good afternoon and welcome to Two Up Top with myself, Gav Mack Alex Osborn there on the right. How are you, dude?
Very well, thank you very much, mate. How are you?
I'm very, very tired, mate. I have just been on an 8-mile walk and I don't think I've walked that far, probably for the best part of a decade.
I was going to say, you and walking don't really go together, to be honest with you.
I walk to the boozer, I walk up the stairs. It doesn't really go any further than that.
Well, and the other times I imagine you ever doing the walking was when you were refereeing, but I reckon that you were pretty active or a busy ref.
To be fair, I did.
Not busy in the type of, I want to give cards out.
There's cards out left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We're just going to talk about what's happened in the last couple of days in the Premier League, and then we're going to look forward to the weekend's games as well. So, why don't we start with yesterday's game? Manchester United, Man City, Manchester City. They absolutely thumped the champions Liverpool 4-0. Does the result really matter? Does it really put a statement out to anybody?
Well, if you're fans of Liverpool, then yeah, you'll say no, it doesn't matter. We're still celebrating our win. If you're a Man City fan, you're saying, oh, it's definitely a statement. Oh, we played really well, which they did. Let's not take away from that. And we're going to come and get back our title next year. I think it's probably somewhere in between, maybe. Liverpool, clearly, right. There's two things actually I want to say about this, and I'm not going to try and turn it into like a gloat about Arsenal or anything. But the first point is right. Arsenal have taken a lot of stick because of the Invincibles, right? They were like, oh, you drew too many games during that season. All these new teams would easily beat Arsenal. That Arsenal team out of sight. This, that, and the other, right? What I will say is, that Arsenal side also won the title with about 5 or 6 games to spare. They won it quite early on.
Yeah, it was like it was like 4 or 5 games left, wasn't it? Because then they drew a load of games and then one against left for the last day of the season.
I think they drew like 4 of their last 5 games because they had already won it. So the thing is, right, don't come at Arsenal for that, because if they could quite easily have carry on winning for the rest of that season if they really wanted to. So before people start saying, oh, they only got this amount of points or they only drew this amount of games, last night was a perfect example of when a team just has won something already, they lose that edge.
You don't need to put any pressure on anymore. You've won the title, it's done.
That's it.
Man United,
it's the same
prime
thing,
example.
Like, when the team gets relegated, sometimes all the pressure has been lifted off them, and then all of a sudden they win a couple of games, don't they? That used to happen. I don't think it's happened quite so much recently, but I remember it happening quite often back in the 90s when teams got relegated. Then the very next 2 or 3 games that they'd have after, they'd win and they'd play really good football. And you're like, well, hang on, why didn't you play like this?
Where were they for the last 38 games?
It's because of the pressure. So yeah, it's just basically Liverpool dropped their percentage by a couple of by 3 or 4%, and City obviously had a point to prove. The guard of honour spurred them on. And can we talk about how amazing Phil Foden is?
Oh, I was just about to come to. Can we just wax lyrical about Phil Foden for a minute? Because you don't expect him to be starting a game like this. Liverpool. It's only a couple of weeks ago, well, last week, wasn't it, when they played against Burnley? And it's like, oh yeah, it looked like a world-class player, but it's only Burnley. What are you saying now? This is Liverpool. And this Liverpool, yeah, they've won the league or whatever. That was a full-strength Liverpool side. They couldn't have improved strength-wise anywhere on the park in terms of personnel with what Liverpool have got. That is what their starting lineup is every week. They've been smashing teams left, right and centre. And Phil Foden looks like an absolute beast.
I said about Jadon Sancho having top 5 in the world potential, as in top 5 best player in the world. The same can be said of Phil Foden. and Man City had them both at their academy. I know Jadon Sancho was at Man City's academy. Did they bring him from? Did they bring him from? Was it Watford? Did they bring
From
him
Watford,
when he was a young teenager up from Watford. But Phil Foden's been there since what? He was probably 8 or 9, about that age, probably. And Man City had them both in their academy, which goes as a testament to show how good Man City's academy, their new academy, you know, with all of the training facilities, that whole setup. Have you been up there? I think you.
I've been out there. Yeah.
So I think it's
kit.
a testament to all of those people behind the scenes, the coaches, the staff, basically producing what could be two of England's best players for quite some time.
For a generation, 100%. If Man City do go out for whatever reason and go buy someone else to play in that David Silva role, I don't think they will. I'll be really disappointed if they did as well. But if they do, he has to go. He has to move on.
He has to go. And if they do go out and buy somebody in that position instead of Phil Foden, to me, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but that says to me that Pep Guardiola, the Spanish manager, is looking out for Spain's best interests in this occasion and trying to hamper maybe English interests because he sees how good Phil Foden is and he's like, oh, hang on, I want Spain to do well. I'm going to try and hamper Phil Foden as much as possible.
I've never thought of it like that.
But I mean, I'm not saying that's. I'm definitely not saying that's the case because he's playing him now. He's playing him now, and he has come out in the press and said that he is not going to be buying anybody. He's told the board that they do not need to invest in that area because they have him. But it's just something, isn't it? Because you think about it, he sees how good he is, and he's thinking, "Oh God, do we have anybody like that in Spain? Or I want Spain to deal with that for the next 10, 15 years, you know?" So it's just a thought, just a little thought.
Let's laugh at Tottenham because I do like doing
laugh
that.
like that then. But can I just point out though, everyone's obviously going to go on about Sterling and Gomez before we go on. Obviously they had a nice little run in there, which always was going to happen. But Kevin De Bruyne's still amazing. Him and Phil Foden, that duo next season, if they get if Rodri obviously is used to the league next year and they get reinforcements on the back, City, they're going to take some stopping. No matter who else, no matter Man United's improvement, no matter who Chelsea sign, no matter what Liverpool do, I think if City get their recruitment right, they'll win the title next year.
I fancy a bit of Chelsea for some reason. Just a little thing in the back of my head is telling me something about Chelsea that we need to look out for them next year because I think they'll start off a bit slow, then they'll go on a run and no one will pay any attention to them. And the next thing you know, they're like leading the league by like 4 or 5 points. And it's like, oh, we need to keep an eye out. I just think we shouldn't sleep on Chelsea. But one team that is sleeping is Tottenham Hotspur. No offence to Spurs fans. Hiya, Sava and everybody watching. Sheffield United 3, Tottenham 1. Now, I watched Sava's show, a Spursy podcast yesterday, day before, sorry, and they were talking about the build-up for this game, and I was thinking, yeah, this is a game that Spurs should be winning. Sheffield United have not been at the races since the resumption of football, and they fell apart yesterday. Spurs did. Sheffield United, they went 1-0 up by Sander Berge. It's his first goal for the club. He was brilliant yesterday, by the way. He was really, really good.
We talked about him, didn't we, in the game? Is it in Sheffield United's previous game? I said that he was quite a tall piece of dark arts.
Yes.
Which is you need those kind of players in your team. But it was lovely, nice little toes, got the ball out of his feet, good finish across the keeper. But it was a kind of that goal was. It almost felt like the Tottenham conceded the same goal three times.
Yeah.
Got to the byline, cut back.
None
of the defenders were paying attention. And yeah, good finishes all around.
It's such basically a Bundesliga goal. That's how goals are scored in the Bundesliga quite a lot. Literally, run it down to the touchline, cut back, finish, first time.
It just shows that Spurs were shutting off. Their defenders were just not paying attention at all.
Well, the game could have been a whole lot different if that equaliser had stood. Now, Everyone is wound up by that. Fans, even match officials that I know that have come out and said, "Come on, mate, what? Why?" Because what annoys me most about that equaliser, well, that was chalked off, is the whole reason why it ended up touching more of his hand was because he was fouled in the build-up. So if you can't give the if you can't give the goal, why don't you come back and give the free kick? There's no advantage then, is there? Give a free kick.
Well, again, this what VAR has highlighted is we've said this a couple of times already. Because this is where the NFL this is going down the path of the NFL, right? Because in NFL they use the replay review for a touchdown, whether it's a catch, right, whether it's gone out of bounds, whether it's crossed the line, the goal line for a touchdown. Now, obviously, last year they did the pass interference, didn't they? I think they've taken that away now. But what they noticed when they were doing these replays, that they were picking up other things that the referees on the field had missed.
Yeah.
And therefore they were then ruling on something completely different, which then is like, well, hang on, why are you going on that jurisdiction there when you called it like this way on the field, and we've gone to a replay view for a completely different reason, but you're now calling it for something else, right? Why that shouldn't be the case, right? So that's what's happening here, right? So, for example, as you mentioned, why have they not gone back and then blown for a foul? But the reason why is because they were just checking for the goal, I imagine, and we need to know.
But there's a reason why. That's the issue. There's a reason why that happened. He only handballed it, which I still think is bloody harsh. And it's a similar situation happened in the Liverpool Man City game as well. The final, Mahrez scored to make it 5-0, but it wasn't in the end because it hit Foden's arm when he was on the ground. But he only put his arms out to protect himself.
Two games, two very similar incidences have chalked off a goal.
It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic.
It highlights that the rule needs to change for handball, doesn't it? Because by the letter of the law, the ball has touched a player's hand, therefore it's a handball. That's the law of the game, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty certain it's probably more specific than that. As
well too. It's because he's gained an advantage has been gained off the back of it, an advantage being the goal, but he's only handballed it for a reason.
Yes.
If he was fouled, so therefore that's why it ended up touching his arm. So if you're gonna give it for handball, then you've got to give it for the foul. You got to give the foul. And if you can't play advantage for the foul to give the goal, then it's like, look, we can't give the goal, but it's a free kick here because the only reason why I touched his hand, that's common sense, but there's no common sense in the laws of the game. We used to call it Law 18, the common sense law. Because there's no, you can't use common sense. It's pathetic. So and when they do reforms of the laws of the game, they never consult referees. Referees just told what the laws are when they never consult referees for it. And I think that needs to change.
Well, there needs to be a law 19 introduced called VAR sense.
Yeah, it really does. It's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. And I think unless they do a serious review, this is going to happen more and more and more. Yeah,
and people
definitely
get more and more frustrated.
Well, Sheffield United, they've found their way back, and they are back on some form of pathway. But give them
confidence and momentum going into the next game. That's what it will do. As for Spurs, do we start to say, really, was Jose Mourinho when they hired him? Was it a desperation hire? Was it the correct one, or do we think he's going to turn it round, or is his recent history, what happened at Man United, and the back end of his second Chelsea stint, is that now the Mourinho that is what Spurs have got, and really it's only going to go one way? It's already imploding.
Sheffield United are playing again over the weekend. They are turning out on Sunday. And they've got Burnley away. So where can you see that one heading?
A draw. I'll say a draw on that one.
Do you not think they'll be buoyed up enough after that victory against
Well, Burnley won as well, don't forget, in their last game, so they'd be buoyed from that victory. So I think that's two very well organised teams cancelling each other out.
Yeah, they are kicking off at lunchtime. We're not going to go into too much depth about that because we're going to be building up more of the Sunday games on tomorrow's show, not tomorrow, so Sunday show at 11 o'clock. You'll be able to see our handsome faces and Adam the Greek as well. But I just thought I'd mention Sheffield United in there as we're talking about them before. But let's have a look forward to Saturday's games. Tomorrow lunchtime, you might be able to watch in a pub somewhere. Oh my God! It's Norwich versus Brighton. Now, Brighton they've pulled away a little bit from the drop zone. I'm not saying that they're safe. I don't think they are. They're safe at the moment. They're definitely not mathematically safe anyway. But Norwich, if they have any hope of surviving, they have to get 3 points from this game.
Yeah, that's quite obvious. There's nothing more to say on it really, other than that. But I don't know if they can really.
What do they need to do to try and break down Brighton? I mean, like we looked at Brighton during the week, and there was areas where we felt that they could have improved. Yes, they played against a pretty decent Manchester United side, but we were watching their shape, weren't we? Brighton. What are they meant to be doing? Are they meant to be playing a 4-4-2? Is it meant to be 3 at the back? Is McAllister meant to be sitting in between to make it a 5 in midfield with Connolly through the middle? They looked really disjointed. And for instance, Lamperty is a right back, but he's playing in a right midfield position. So do you feel that Norwich will be able to? I'm not saying they've got the clientele to really do it, but should they be looking at those tactics and finding ways on how to exploit that?
Conversely, it might have just been a way that Potter thought that he could best deal with Man United's threat to go with a more defensive shape down the right-hand side to combat Rashford. And then obviously seeing Norwich as more of a winnable game, he might revert back to the shape that was serving them, or he certainly started off with at the start of the season, which is going 3 at the back, you wing backs, and did they play 2 up top? I think they did play 2 up top, didn't they? Yes, it was a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. But I think he might go back to that because, as you say, he sees Norwich as a winnable game rather than the United game where it was obviously a lot harder.
Yeah, very true. One team that desperately need to pick up a win to keep their top 4 hopes alive, really, is Leicester. And Leicester, they're not having a good time. Jamie Vardy's only scored 1 goal in this calendar year. Yes, we've had a hiatus, but I think he's only scored 1 in his last 11 games. And Leicester have only picked up 2 wins in their last 15. So Crystal Palace, they need to be beating Palace this weekend.
Do you know what? It's for a team that's not in form, as Leicester are. You want a game against somebody who's mid-table or in the bottom half. But the problem is when you're not in form and you haven't been scoring, your confidence is low. And when you come up against an organised side like Palace, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be one of those games where they're going to score quite early and they'll just settle the nerves. I know Palace hasn't really done anything a lot since lockdown has come back.
No, they beat Bournemouth, but
they took a bit of a pasting from Liverpool, didn't they? Where they recorded that stat of no touches in Liverpool's box, 18-yard box, did they? So, which was the first time that had been happened since those kind of stats had been recorded. And then they lost to Burnley, didn't they? With it in a pretty insipid performance, if you want to call it. Yeah. So I mean, Palace is not exactly filled with confidence right now, but that could also mean that they're going to be extra determined to come back with a victory, and they'll see Leicester as somebody as a team who are vulnerable themselves, won't they?
It's a target, isn't it? I mean, look, Sheffield United, they've been bereft of confidence, and they were able to pick up a win against Spurs, and Spurs haven't exactly been poor since the restart. So there's every reason. Palace have still got European ambitions.
I mean, I wouldn't say they would have European ambitions. I don't think they're too inconsistent to.
No, every team has got ambition to finish as high as possible. They are in contention for Europa League spot.
Well, it depends how far down the Europa League spots are going to go. But
it will even go to seventh spot because of the teams that are left in the FA Cup, and considering Arsenal, I can't see them winning the FA Cup. That's going to stretch down. It could even go down as far as 8th place. So, there's every reason that Palace could get into Europe next year. So a win here, that puts them in a real decent position.
It will certainly bring them closer depending on results elsewhere. But I mean,
they could end as high as 9th at the end of the weekend.
They're sitting in 12th, aren't they? And
3 points off Tottenham, 4 points off Arsenal, 5 points off Sheffield United.
They won't be able to get to 9th unless they win their game by like 16 goals because the goal difference is that bad. But they can certainly get into they can certainly go as high as 10th. Yeah, they can certainly go as high as 10th.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, look, you've got Southampton in 14th place. They're on 40 points. You've got Sheffield United in 7th place. They're on 47 points. So why can't Crystal Palace put in a little run and try and get a place into Europe?
Because they're too inconsistent. They're too inconsistent. They're just as likely to win as they are to lose. They won't, with that kind of form, especially since they've come back from lockdown and Wilfried Zaha still struggling for fitness. They're not going to make Europe. They're not going to make Europe.
5 wins in the last 7 games. That's all I'm saying on that one. There's every chance. And Leicester, 2 wins in the last 15. This game, on paper, should never even be a contest. It should be a Leicester win all day, but I'm not too sure. And it's a typical game where Crystal Palace would be like, oh, yeah, we fancy that. And then, be a Milivojevic penalty on the 89th minute for them to win 1-0.
I mean, if Palace are to get into Europe, I mean, they've got the teams to play to beat them to get there because they play Wolves, they play Spurs, they play Man United, and they play Chelsea as well as the game against Leicester. So if they are going to get into Europe, they've got the teams there above them to beat. So, but I can't see it at all, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, you never know. There's a lot of drama going on down there, and it could go either way. Man United, mentioning Bournemouth there because they got that win against Bournemouth. Man United, they've got Bournemouth this weekend. This is going to be an absolute slapping. I can't see. Bournemouth are one of those weird bogey sides that are able to pick up wins every now and then, but this. No. I don't understand what Eddie Howe was saying the other day as well. He was like, we've got 7 games left and we're going to win all 7. And it's like, have you not seen your running, Eddie Howe? Are you sure? That game against Newcastle, you have to win that. And they didn't. So now they've got United, they've got Wolves, they've got Leicester, they've got I think they've got Chelsea as well. I have to double check their fixture list, but Bournemouth are in dire straits and they will be going down now. I think I can't see any way of them surviving. And Man United, on the other hand, I think they're going to finish 3rd at the end of the season.
I think that they probably will do. It's going to be a tight race between them and Wolves. Well, them, Wolves, and Chelsea. Those 3 clubs.
Yeah, Leicester will drop out. I reckon they'll finish 6th now, and I feel sorry for them. But at the same time, I don't, because if you end up going through that sort of run of games and you can't pick up wins and stuff, especially teams that they should be beating, yeah, it's not looking good for Leicester, and there's every chance that they will miss out on the Champions League spot. What else we got? We got Wolves versus Arsenal. Now, as people already know, I'm an Arsenal fan. I can't see how Arsenal are able to pick up a victory tomorrow. I really can't. Against a Wolves side that just know exactly what to do and how to react and how to handle themselves in any situation, any circumstance. I think Wolves are probably the 3rd best team in the league at the moment. Maybe fourth best team in the league, I would say, at worst.
On form, they're certainly up there. I don't know. This is Arsenal have bounced back well from those 2 defeats since lockdown. And if you look at their form actually under Arteta since he's taken over, they're doing all right. They're doing okay, especially when you compare it to what came beforehand. He seems to have worked out a way to get the best out of some players with this new shape that he started playing, which is 3 at the back. Which again, I think that suits the personnel that's available to Arsenal. Because you play to your strengths of your attackers, and you've got strength down the left-hand side in Kieran Tierney and Bukayo Saka. And it kind of masks, if you play David Luiz, it kind of masks his flaws as a defender, allows him to have a little bit more time on the ball to do what he wants to do, which is ping passes all over the place as your sweeper, libero, whatever you want to call him. So the thing is, though, they've only been playing out for the last 2 or 3 games, and Wolves have got, as you say, have got a very clear, defined system. Everybody knows what they're doing. They've got a clear game plan. Where this game is going to be decided is Arsenal going to be able to take them out of that game plan, which is what I think has been Wolves have kept it tight for the first half, tried to run the opponents into the ground a little bit by making them sort of chase the ball, and then you bring on your difference maker in your absolute tank of a man, Adama Traore, to cause havoc and get tiring defences in the second half, and he feeds Diogo Jota and, most importantly, I think Raul Jimenez, which I think that's the most productive duo in the Premier League so far this season. Them two, in terms of goals, direct goal involvement, them 2 goals and assists. So it's going to be interesting to see how Wolves react to going behind before they could put that in place. So whoever gets the first goal in this game is going to be crucial, I think, and that they'll go on to win the game, I think, in this one. So
I can't see anyone else scoring a goal than Wolves.
I can't see Arsenal winning. I personally think it might be a draw, to be fair.
I think this is going to be a rather comfortable 2-0 Wolves, I think, in that. And then we've got Chelsea, who are going to be bouncing back after their shock defeat against West Ham. On paper, shock defeat, but performance-wise, you'd probably say elsewhere. But yeah, Chelsea, I think Watford are the perfect team to be playing against when you want to retaliate.
Mm-hmm.
And this could potentially be quite an embarrassing scoreline.
Yeah, though I suppose one thing that we shouldn't overlook, it is a London derby of some sorts. I mean, Watford are pretty much in London, aren't they?
M25, inside the M25 derby.
Yeah, M25. Yeah, so I mean, they are going to be. Watford will be up for this game. There's no doubt about it. Troy Deeney's going to get the boys going. Nigel Pearson will get them going. They have got Ismail Assar, who's a very good player. And Chelsea are kind of licking their wounds, aren't they, after that game against West Ham? And again, West Ham exposed some of Chelsea's flaws. Defensively, they've got structural issues there in the centre of defence, in the centre of field. They just don't. They don't protect their goal well enough. And Lampard, whether he's going to go back to the drawing board, I don't think he will do, because, you know, as a big club, you shouldn't allow one game to affect the way you want to play. But they're going to need to think about potentially changing up the personnel, maybe bringing in Tomori. I don't know, Tomori, if he's injured or not.
It's so important that you said that about not changing your game plan after one game. And I watched the documentary last night on Sky Sports about the mechanics of Barcelona. It's a brilliant bit of watch, and I think you'll be able to go back and watch it. So if anyone's got Sky Sports, have a look. I can't remember the name of it. I'll drop it on the page. And they lost their first game under Guardiola against Numancia, 1-0. And the goal came from them like knocking it around at the back so much. And the key was, if you make a mistake, just do the same thing again. because you already know what you're meant to be doing. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, and it's how you grow and how you progress from that. And I thought it was really important the way it was put across. I thought it was excellent. Chelsea shouldn't go back on the way they have been playing. They should be beating teams like West Ham in their style of play, and they should be beating teams like Watford. Watford, when you are down the bottom, it's going to be tough, and everyone has been losing games down there. But then all of a sudden, West Ham picking up that win has just made it even harder for Watford. So Watford need to go out there and try and get something out of the game. And the fact that they're playing at 8 o'clock, there could be a circumstance where Bournemouth might get a point. You never know. Football is a crazy game. And if they do, then it just creates a little bit of uneasy and a little bit of unrest at the bottom. So, they should just go out there and try and find those performances like how they were in that first period under Pearson. They need to remember how they played against Liverpool, and they need to just go out there and believe in what they do rather than play with this fear factor. They need to go out there and believe in what they do and what they can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right then, as you can see on the bottom on the ticker tape, if you're listening to the show, you can't see it. But if you're watching it, underneath you can see all our social media links: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. All of that at Top Football. Make sure you like our stuff and share and subscribe our stuff. And even if you don't like it, you've been watching.
Subscribe anyway.
So subscribe anyway. It's helping out. It's really helping. Yeah. And also, did you know that you could just put Two Up Top into Google and we're the first hit? How ledge is that? We are on top in Google.
Make it wave. We just need that support from you guys so that we can continue to make waves and bring content, bring more interviews your way. I mean, that's what we want to do. We've got lots of plans that we want to try and get into for the show and grow it. We just need you guys to show the love and support like you have done so far, but just keep doing it, guys. That's all we can ask for.
Indeedio. But for myself and Alex, we'll see you tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday, isn't it?
Sunday
morning, 11 o'clock. Catch you later, guys.